This single piece of paper, worth $1, has toppled governments, financed world wars, and quietly enslaved nations. And almost everything you've been told about it is incomplete. From colonial tobacco barter to the engine of a $36 trillion empire, this is the hidden architecture of the most powerful symbol in human history.
Welcome to Vaulted Era, the hidden stories behind money, power, and history. America before the dollar was a continent of economic chaos. 13 colonies, 13 different systems, and almost no real money anywhere in circulation. Trade ran on barter, desperation, and improvisation. Colonists used whatever worked: tobacco leaves in Virginia, wampum shells in New England, Spanish pesos, Dutch ducats, British shillings. 13 currencies in 13 colonies, and none of them trusted by all. Britain engineered this scarcity deliberately. The Navigation Acts legally required gold to flow back across the Atlantic. Every coin earned in the colonies was designed to return to London. Economic dependency was policy. In 1690, Massachusetts made history, issuing the first government paper currency in the Western world, not backed by gold or silver, but by the promise of future tax collection. Revolutionary, terrifying, and completely necessary. When Britain passed the Currency Act of 1764, banning all colonial paper money, it was a financial declaration of war. Benjamin Franklin himself warned Parliament this law would create poverty and rebellion. He was right on both counts. The currency question radicalized ordinary men. When you cannot feed your family because a foreign parliament controls your money supply, revolution stops being philosophy and becomes survival. The dollar's story begins in fury. Even the dollar sign itself carries hidden history. The earliest known use appears in a 1778 invoice by Oliver Pollock, an Irish-American financier of the Revolution, the letter P superimposed on S for peso. America borrowed its symbol from the Spanish Empire it was replacing. When the Revolution began in 1775, America had no real money to fight it. The decision made next would define the next 250 years and nearly lose the war before it started. May 1775, the Continental Congress faced an existential choice: find money to fight Britain or surrender before a single major battle. They chose to print, unleashing the Continental dollar on a disbelieving world. They printed over $241 million in Continentals between 1775 and 1779. By 1780, it took 40 Continental dollars to buy what one had purchased in 1775. The phrase "not worth a Continental" entered the language as a synonym for worthless. Washington's men at Valley Forge starved not from a British blockade, but because Pennsylvania farmers refused Continental paper in exchange for food. Bad money was a more dangerous enemy than British muskets. Alexander Hamilton, Washington's aide-de-camp who witnessed the Continental's collapse firsthand, became obsessed with a singular conviction: without sound money and a central bank, the Republic would not survive. He was right. The Coinage Act of 1792 made it official: the United States dollar, defined as 371.25 grains of pure silver or 24.75 grains of gold. For the first time, America had a single, unified monetary identity built on metal, law, and sovereign will. In 1794, the first silver dollar rolled off the press. Lady Liberty on one face, the eagle on the other. Two symbols chosen with enormous deliberation. A nation young enough to dream and old enough to know it would need to fight. For its first 70 decades, the dollar worked. It backed westward expansion, financed wars, and gave the young republic the credibility to borrow from European banks. Sound money, anchored to metal, built the first American economic miracle. Then came the Civil War and a financial crisis that would force the government to make a choice that would echo for 160 years. Abandon the gold anchor and print paper money backed by nothing but the promise of a government fighting for its own survival. Every element on this bill was placed there deliberately. There are no accidents, no decorations. Each symbol carries the fingerprints of a specific historical moment, a specific power struggle, a specific decision made in a room most people were never meant to know about. The Great Seal, including the pyramid and eye, was designed in 1782 by Charles Thomson and William Barton. It took 3 separate committees over 6 years to agree on the final design. The symbols drew from Enlightenment philosophy, not secret societies. 13 layers, 1 per original colony. The pyramid remains unfinished, representing a nation still under construction. The Eye of Providence above is the Eye of God, a Judeo-Christian symbol appearing in churches across Europe since the Renaissance. Not Masonic, not hidden, documented. The eagle holds 13 arrows in one talon, always ready for war, and an olive branch in the other, always preferring peace. Its head faces the olive branch. This was a conscious diplomatic signal. America seeks peace, but will not be caught unarmed. Here is what most people don't know. The pyramid and eye had never appeared on paper currency until 1935. FDR personally approved placing the Great Seal on the dollar, convinced by Henry Wallace that it embodied the New Deal spirit of national renewal. In God We Trust did not appear on paper currency until 1957, placed there by Eisenhower at the height of the Cold War. The Soviet Union was officially atheist. America's dollar would become a daily reminder of the ideological divide. 2 superpowers, 2 currencies, 2 civilizational claims. One said, the state is supreme. The other replied, printed on 2 billion pieces of paper distributed globally, that God, not government, was the ultimate authority. Financial theology. Every major dollar redesign marks a turning point in American power. Each face, each seal color, each security feature is a historical timestamp, a record of which crisis America was responding to when the presses ran. The first $1 legal tender note in 1862 did not feature Washington. It featured Salmon Chase, the Treasury Secretary who designed it. He put his own face on the nation's money. Congress later passed laws preventing living officials from appearing on currency. Power finds a way. That serial number isn't random. The opening letter maps exactly to which of the 12 Federal Reserve districts issued it. A. Boston. B. New York. L. San Francisco. A star symbol means it replaced a misprinted note. Every dollar carries a birth certificate, a hometown, and a story. When the Treasury announced Harriet Tubman would replace Andrew Jackson on the $20 bill, the currency became a referendum on national identity. Who gets immortalized on money tells you everything about who holds power and who we're being asked to honor. Each day, the Bureau of Engraving and Printing produces 38 million notes, not to create wealth, simply to replace worn currency. The dollar never stops being made. The empire never sleeps. October 1907, a single bank panic in New York City nearly collapsed the entire American economy. J.P. Morgan personally bailed out the U.S. banking system using his own fortune. One man's wealth stood between America and financial oblivion. Something had to change. November 22, 1910, 6 of the most powerful men in America boarded a private train using only first names, telling staff they were going duck hunting. Their destination? Jekyll Island, Georgia. Their mission? Redesign the entire American financial system in total secrecy. The 6 men that met at Jekyll Island represented an estimated 1/4 of the entire world's wealth. They worked for 9 days, waking early and finishing late into the night. When they left, they carried the blueprint for the Federal Reserve, which they denied creating for 20 years. December 23, 1913, 2 days before Christmas, when Congress was largely empty, Woodrow Wilson signed the Federal Reserve Act. A central bank, neither purely public nor purely private, was born. The dollar would never be the same. October 1929, 16 years after the Federal Reserve was created to prevent this exact thing, the stock market collapsed in the greatest single-day crash in American history. The institution designed to provide stability had, critics argued, helped inflate the very bubble it was supposed to prevent. 9,000 banks failed. 1 in 4 Americans lost their jobs. The dollar, the symbol of faith in the American system, became a symbol of broken promises. The greatest economic collapse in the history of capitalism unfolded in the most powerful country on earth. FDR made it a crime for Americans to own gold in 1933, requiring citizens to turn in their gold coins at $20.67 per ounce. Then he immediately revalued gold to $35 per ounce, a 69% overnight profit for the government, a 69% loss in real terms for anyone who had complied. As World War II consumed Europe, gold moved in one direction, west. Britain shipped its gold to Canada and America to pay for weapons. European governments in exile transferred their reserves to U.S. vaults. By 1944, America held 2/3 of the world's monetary gold. The dollar's moment had arrived. July 1944. With the war not yet won, 730 delegates from 44 nations gathered in the White Mountains to rebuild the global financial order. Two men would decide the future: the most famous economist alive and an almost unknown American civil servant whose ambitions were empire scale. Keynes proposed a neutral world currency, the bancor, that no single nation would control. Harry Dexter White said no. America had the gold, America had the armies, America had the leverage. The dollar became the world's reserve currency. Every nation now needed dollars to trade with anyone. August 1971. America's gold crisis was no longer theoretical. France had sent a warship to New York Harbor to collect its gold. Britain demanded $3 billion from Fort Knox. The math was brutal. America owed $70 billion in gold claims and had $10 billion left to cover them. The declassified memos are astonishing in their candor. Nixon's Treasury Secretary Colonial told foreign finance ministers, "The dollar is our currency, but it's your problem." That attitude, documented, real, historic, defined what would happen next. On August 15, 1971, Richard Nixon went on national television and announced that America would no longer redeem dollars for gold. He called it temporary. It was permanent. The Bretton Woods system, 27 years old, died in a 15-minute television address. The Nixon shock reverberated across every financial system on Earth. One Sunday night broadcast had unilaterally ended the international monetary order agreed by 44 nations in 1944. No negotiations, no warning, no global vote. American power exercised without consultation. The decade that followed was a masterclass in monetary consequences. Inflation hit 14.8%. Gold prices rose 2,300%. The dollar's purchasing power was cut in half. These were not accidents. They were the mathematical outcome of removing every constraint on money creation. OPEC's 1973 oil embargo struck a dollar-weakened America with devastating precision. Oil prices quadrupled in 90 days. Gas lines stretched for miles. The world's most powerful economy waited in line for fuel. And in the background, Henry Kissinger was already negotiating the deal that would save the dollar. In July 1974, Treasury Secretary William Simon flew to Jeddah on what was publicly called an economic goodwill tour. His real mission: convince King Faisal to price all Saudi oil in US dollars and to invest the surplus in US Treasury bonds. America would provide military protection in return. By 1975, all OPEC nations agreed oil would be sold only in dollars. Kissinger himself coined the term Petrodollar recycling to describe the Saudi surplus reinvested into U.S. Treasury bonds. The dollar had lost its gold anchor and found something more powerful: oil. The petrodollar system rebuilt dollar dominance on a new foundation. By 1977, 80% of all international trade was invoiced in U.S. dollars. Every developing nation now needed dollars to buy oil, which meant needing to earn dollars, which meant exporting to America, a circular dependency by design. The dollar wasn't just money anymore. It was the operating system of the global economy. Every international loan, every commodity contract, every corporate bond was denominated in dollars. Refusing to use the dollar meant refusing to participate in the global economy itself. In 1997, the Asian financial crisis exposed the dollar system's hidden power. Nations that borrowed in dollars saw their currencies collapse, making repayment impossible. The IMF, overwhelmingly controlled by American and European votes, arrived with bailout conditions that opened these economies to Western capital. French finance minister Giscard d'Estaing called it America's exorbitant privilege in 1965, and it was the right word. America could run endless trade deficits because surplus dollars returned as loans. Every nation on Earth was in effect financing America's spending. September 15, 2008, Lehman Brothers collapsed with $613 billion in liabilities, the largest bankruptcy in history. The crisis it triggered froze global credit. Iceland's entire banking system failed. European banks teetered. The world's financial plumbing was clogged. The Federal Reserve responded to 2008 by creating $3.7 trillion in new dollars, more money than existed in the entire U.S. economy in 1980. They called it quantitative easing. Critics called it the most consequential monetary experiment in human history. Both were right. Here is the dollar's most powerful hidden story. In 2008, when the crisis began in America in dollar-denominated assets, the world didn't flee the dollar. They bought more, because when everything breaks, you hold what everyone else will accept, and that was still the dollar. By every measure, the dollar remained dominant, but the cracks were becoming visible, and the nations who wanted alternatives were for the first time powerful enough to begin building them. Russia's 2022 exclusion from the SWIFT dollar payment system sent a message louder than any weapon. Control the dollar system, and you can erase a nation's economy overnight. It was also a demonstration that every country outside the Western Alliance watched with intense alarm. Central banks bought more gold in 2022 than in any year since 1967. In 2023, they bought it again at near record pace. Nations are quietly, systematically reducing dollar dependency, not replacing it, hedging against it. The difference matters enormously. The 2023 BRICS summit in Johannesburg was historic. 6 new nations invited to join, including Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Iran. 40% of global GDP, 42% of the world's population, all discussing one question: is there an alternative to the dollar? These aren't theoretical discussions, they are documented transactions happening now. Brazil and China settling billions in trade without dollars. India buying Russian oil in rupees. The Petrodollar architecture, built in 1974, is being tested for the first time by actors with the economic weight to actually challenge it. America's own national debt, now exceeding $36 trillion, is the dollar's most dangerous internal challenge. Every dollar of that debt is denominated in dollars the Fed can print. But every dollar printed is a quiet tax on every nation holding dollars in reserve. That math has limits. On October 31, 2008, 6 weeks after Lehman collapsed, an anonymous figure called Satoshi Nakamoto published the Bitcoin white paper. Its opening premise? A financial system that required no trust in institutions, no central authority, no dollar. The most direct challenge to 250 years of monetary architecture. 130 countries are now researching or piloting central bank digital currencies. The Federal Reserve is studying a digital dollar. The future of the dollar symbol may not be paper at all. It may be code. But whoever controls the code controls the currency. And that question is not yet settled. The Federal Reserve has never been subjected to a full congressional audit. It sets interest rates for 330 million Americans and, by extension, for billions more globally through a process that is, by design, partially shielded from democratic oversight. That is not conspiracy. It is the documented architecture of the institution. 2 documents, 95 years apart, both written in secrecy, both attempting to answer the same question: who should control the creation and distribution of money? The answer to that question always determines who holds power over everything else. The dollar is in your pocket, your phone, your retirement account, your nation's foreign policy. You didn't design this system, you didn't vote for it, but you live inside it every single day. And the first step toward real financial understanding is knowing what you're actually holding. World War I made America the world's creditor for the first time. J.P. Morgan arranged over $2 billion in loans to the Allied powers, financing Britain's war effort. When the guns fell silent, America held Europe's debts and the world's gold. The 20th century's financial architecture was built on that foundation. John Maynard Keynes resigned from the British delegation at Versailles in 1919, predicting the reparations would destroy Germany's economy and cause another war within 20 years. His book, published that year, was called The Economic Consequences of the Peace. He was correct to within 1 year. By November 1923, $1 bought 4.2 trillion German marks. A wheelbarrow of currency wouldn't buy bread. The life savings of an entire middle class were wiped out in months. When money fails completely, society does not pause, it fractures. The financial chaos of 1923 was the incubator of the Third Reich. The data is undeniable. The hyperinflation of 1923 and the political extremism that followed are correlated in the historical record. Hitler's first coup attempt came at the exact peak of monetary collapse. Sound money is not just economics, it is the foundation of democratic stability. The $13 billion Marshall Plan wasn't charity, it was strategy. American dollars rebuilt Western Europe, created markets for American goods, and locked democratic Europe into the dollar system for generations. The dollar's empire was built not just by force, but by making itself indispensable. From a colonial barter economy to the engine of a $36 trillion debt empire, 250 years of decisions, crises, wars, deals made in secret rooms, all of it encoded in a single piece of paper that currently exists in 14 billion copies worldwide. The dollar is in your mortgage, your paycheck, your pension, your country's foreign policy, and in the savings of a grandmother in Jakarta who has never been to America. This system was designed, it was not inevitable, and it can be understood by anyone willing to look. Whether Rothschild said it or not, the principle has proven true across 250 years of documented financial history. Monetary power is the deepest form of political power. The dollar's story is not exceptional. It is the universal story of how money and sovereignty are always and will always be inseparable. These are the architects whose names don't appear on the bill, but whose decisions live in every symbol. Hamilton, who understood sound money meant survival. Keynes, who warned what empire built on debt would cost. White, who chose American dominance over global equity. Volcker, who chose the dollar's value over American jobs. Since the Federal Reserve was created in 1913, the dollar has lost 96% of its purchasing power. That is not a political statement, it is arithmetic. What it means for your savings, your retirement, your children's future is the most important question this history raises. The dollar is not a fact of nature. It was designed by people, defended by people, and can be understood by people. The first act of financial sovereignty is understanding the system you live inside. That is what Vaulted Era is built for. The Civil War greenback of 1862 was the first paper dollar backed by nothing but the United States government's promise to eventually pay. It worked, not because people trusted the paper, but because they trusted the Union would survive. The dollar has always been, at its core, a bet on American continuity. In 1959, Belgian economist Robert Triffin identified the fatal flaw in Bretton Woods, a fatal flaw so precise it was named after him. The Triffin dilemma. Any country whose currency becomes the world reserve currency is eventually forced to destroy it. America reached that point in 1971. The world is still living in the consequences.
The dollar was not discovered. It was not inevitable. It was designed through crises, wars, secret meetings, televised announcements, handshakes in Saudi palaces, and the quiet calculations of men whose names you were never taught in school. Every symbol on that bill is the timestamp. Every redesign a confession. Subscribe Altered Era. Stay tuned till our next pod on the Dartmouth Workshop 1956, the little known meeting that started artificial intelligence. Don't miss it.